Happy stream day, Sword Family. This is the 10th episode of the Teahouse. Tonight, we're trying something a little different. Cold brew tea, cherry strawberry. This should be interesting. Don't know how I feel about that one. Just something odd about it. So, tonight, we're going to be discussing the connection between music and martial arts. And to that end, we have something to share with everyone. And that is an ad that I designed and Foxy shot and I wrote the music for this channel. So let's see. Welcome, friends. I'm Bladed Thesis, and this is my tea house. Come join me every other Saturday at 5:30 p.m. Mountain Time as we discuss Chinese culture, history, philosophy, and of course, martial arts. You can find me at youtube.com/BLADEDTH3SIS. Pull up a chair, grab a cup of tea, or the drink of your choice, and join the discussion. Now, originally, when I was first writing script for that ad, there was going to be no music at all. It was just going to be the sword form and my voiceover. But my lovely Foxy back there asked me what kind of music I was going to have, and it made me, reconsider my stance, and I was just going to go out and find some royalty-free music and tack that on there. But then I kind of decided, hey, you're relearning the guitar, so why don't you write something yourself? So that's what I came up with. Still don't entirely know how I feel about it, but it's out there now, so I'm just going to have to, deal with it. Now, we have quite a few comments already, so let's go through those before we actually get into everything. Obviously, the first one at 5:15 is my lovely Foxy welcoming everyone. We have Independent Creator Directory. Good evening, Foxy. Good evening to me. Yes, I was setting everything up. We have the ever so lovely Trilliana Bachman. Evening, finished my project just in time. Nice. Good evening. What were you working on? Trey hoping Foxy feels better. Yeah, she was not doing so great yesterday, but I think things have improved. Did a commission for Dawn. Nice. Yeah, see, better than I was for sure. Now it's my hip bugging me mostly, but it nearly always does. Yeah, I know how that is. Fun. Time for the show. Countdown, yeah. Cold brew seems almost blasphemous when it comes. Yeah, it's odd. It doesn't taste terrible, but I don't know. My brain is like, it should be warm. It just doesn't. I'm still going to drink it, but yeah, she does get anything left over. Tend to agree. Yeah, well, Love it, and the riff turned out great. Thank you. I hate it, but that's kind of how I feel about a lot of the things I create. All Foxy did was stand in the snow and hold a camera, and it was cold, and there was actually a lot there. It's actually a really good ad. Thank you. Love the background. Yeah, that background, the day before, so I shot that last Friday. So it's actually just been sitting on my computer for like a week now. The day before, on Thursday, I went out there while Foxy was at her book club, and I took pictures of several different spots to try and pick the best spot, because we had gotten a little bit of snow the day before, I think. So I wanted to try and get something that could highlight, the snowy mountains in the background, because Utah is kind of known for the greatest snow on earth, which I'm sure is true upstate, but down here in, southwestern desert Utah, it's not entirely the greatest. But I wanted to get a really good spot to highlight the desert and the snow in the background. So I took like 3 or 4 pictures, and that was actually the spot that Foxy picked out. I wanted something that was a little bit more flat and level, and you could see bigger mountains in the background, but you could also see telephone lines and power lines, so that would have been kind of annoying. But that's actually, or was, our local archery range. And the second spot that I was considering using, you could actually see in the background the area where we used to shoot. And the big flat area that was actually directly behind that spot. The reason it's a big empty flat area is because they're putting another baseball field in that spot, which is why we can't go and shoot our bows there anymore. And I know I've mentioned this in comments of other shows, but it pisses me off, because that's the only place that we had that wasn't run by the city, you didn't have to pay for, and was relatively close to my apartment that we could go out and shoot our bows. But because they decided to build another baseball field behind it, we're no longer allowed to go out there and shoot our bows. So, yeah, there's that. Slightly rant over, Told you it was fun. I know. All week, I've been just going back and forth over just deleting the whole thing and starting completely over, just because that's just the nature of how my brain works. I absolutely despise everything about it, but it's out there. And sometime this weekend, I should be getting a message or something from Nick so that I can put it over in his folder so that he can show the ad on his show and Joe can show it on his. And it's going to be interesting to the people who aren't here, who didn't get to see it tonight. Standing in the snow. It wasn't a lot of snow. It was maybe half an inch. But the thing that I really, really liked about that particular ad is I am a Bagua practitioner. That was actually the beginning of a Bagua sword form. And because it would be the first time I was doing it on camera, I wanted to practice a couple of times before we actually filmed it. And I noticed that there was a perfect circle in the ground where I had been walking. I actually was walking the exact same circle every single time I filmed. And anyone who's done at least Asian martial arts knows that it's fairly difficult, but also a really good metric of your particular style if you can end the form in the same place that you started it in. So the fact that I was able to film like 3 times and have the same circle, I was really impressed with that. That was actually really, really cool to me. And we wanted there's actually a big field right out this window right here that is pretty empty. I mean, there's apartments lining it, and there's the highway in the background, and there's houses over this way. But I wanted a spot that was all nature. You didn't have to, you wouldn't see houses or apartments or cars. I wanted that kind of aesthetic. The like I said, the beauty of the desert. And I'm hoping that's what we got out of it. Mountain frames you wrote. Thank you. I'm getting better. I still cringe every time I look at it, but do the same thing when creating stuff. Took me forever to find a layout that worked for me with IndieCD. Yeah, I've found that a lot of creative people, Foxy is the same way. Don't let her tell you any different. She did a sketch last week. I think it was after Nick did his art time after Nevermind the Furthermore, which people should watch Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 9 a.m. Central, I think. She did a sketch, and then she colored it in, and she didn't like it, but it looked pretty damn good to me, considering I can't draw a straight line with a ruler, and yeah. Don't know what made me think of this, but I need to add an ad section to the various profiles. Yeah. Okay. That would be an interesting idea. That way your ads can be played by people visiting your page. Yeah. That is a very, very good idea. I like that idea. You know how you feel with looking at the video? There's a reason why there has been several iterations of the IndieCD ad. And the thing is, I fully plan on redoing it in the spring because there's a spot. It's a lot less nature-y. It's actually the back wall of what used to be our local Kmart. But there's a line of trees that in early to late March, maybe late March, early April, bloom really, really pretty pink. I'm probably going to go back to that spot and record it again. Excuse me. With a different sword form. And maybe doing another one in the summer with yet another sword form. Trying to cover all of the different seasons with different sword forms. Maybe. We'll see. Yeah, I put the picture up every spring on my Facebook because I really like the picture I took. I think it turned out really well. I might actually have it. Yeah. Seasonal ads, seasonal sword form. Great. Thank you. I have the occasional, good idea. But it's the summer and the fall spots because we live in the desert. So there's not really a whole lot of like picturesque areas that aren't going to just be the same desert brown background. Yeah. See if we can do this. That is the spot right there. Now, this brick back here is no longer that tan color because it's a U-Haul building now. So, but I really, really like that picture. Every single spring, I will change my Facebook header picture to that picture just because I really, really like the way that one turned out. Now, there's only 2 real issues with doing that. And that is that it's in the city. Maybe hike out to a wall. Yeah, maybe. It's not a bad idea. For summer, yeah. Yeah. It's a great picture. I think so too. I fully plan on retaking it one of these years so that you can see the new color of the brick. But it's in the city, so I worry about, having the police called on because some random person in a dress is swinging a sword around behind the U-Haul building. And there's also a road right over here. Here's the sidewalk. That's actually the curb of the road. There's houses behind here and here and here. So again, I worry about, basically having the police called on me because we are being weird. I mean, I'm weird. I know I'm weird. It's part of my charm. Yeah, I still don't know about that one. Might have a little too much water in it too. It said to do it in 16 ounces, and that just, it's a little watered down, but just explain what we're doing, and sorry, we'll go home now. And we shouldn't be out there for any more than like 5 or 10 minutes at most. That's probably how long we were out at, recording this ad. But okay, minor story time, because it's my stream and that's what I want to do. We'll get into the music stuff in a minute, but many, many years ago, when we were doing Boffer, which, again, for people who don't know, is, basically mock battles with weapons made of PVC, covered in foam insulation, pipe insulation, and then wrapped in duct tape. We were doing it at one of our local parks, the park that we actually now have the Renaissance Fair in. And there are quite a few houses kind of lining the outside area of the park. And we were out there beating the crap out of each other with, foam swords. And apparently one of the people in one of the houses, we never found out which house, but one of the people in one of the houses called the police because they thought there was some kind of gang initiation going on. So the police showed up, asked us a bunch of questions, basically told us to, tone it down, and they left. So ever since then, I've been hyper aware of the optics of the things that I'm doing, which is also another reason why I chose a place that was kind of outside of town to film this ad. And there was still, I told Foxy after she finished filming, there was a person walking directly over her shoulder, walking a dog across the snow. And to keep my brain from doing the hyperactive chipmunk of staring at the camera to try and keep myself calm, I watched the person with the dog. So there was still a person that stopped. The dog tried to keep going. The person stopped and watched. So that was interesting. Having someone with a camera. That ad was actually recorded with my cell phone camera. We didn't even have like a big fancy, camera thing set up. Really does, especially a chunky white girl with a cane who just completely unthreatening. Yeah, that's another thing. We're having tangent day, but you probably can't tell very well because I don't want to turn on my pineapple lamp that's right here because it washes me out pretty bad. But I'm not exactly white. And we live in southeastern Utah. I have been on more than one occasion told to go back to Mexico, that I don't belong here even though I've lived here my entire life. I am tan. And I tend to do a lot of the grocery shopping because it's just easier for me to get around, even after my hip surgery. And when I'm walking through stores by myself, I will get followed by loss prevention. But when she's with me, they leave me alone. So, yeah. Amazing what can be done with phones as far as video. Yeah, my first phone that had a camera on it was a garbage flip phone that the quality would have been nowhere near that good. Big thing when upgrade phones want a good camera, and I think that one turned out pretty well. So now that I've been rambling for almost 25 minutes, the actual point of the stream is the connection between music and martial arts. Looking back on it now, if I wouldn't have put any music in that ad, it would have felt incomplete. It would have felt unfinished. There is a connection in most people's brains between music and fighting. Music is actually one of the 6 arts of Confucius. You had rites, archery, horseback riding, calligraphy, mathematics, and music. The 6 arts were meant to be learned by all scholars, by all gentlemen. So why music? Because music and movement go together. Just like when most people that I know, when they're doing chores around the house, cleaning and things like that, they need to have music because the silence is danger. When things are quiet, you have more time for the lizard brain to take over, and you start worrying about what could be out in the bush. When you're outside, alone, and even in groups of people, when there's no sound, people get scared. You need something. And music has that thing that just, it hits a part of your brain that relaxes you, even if it's not relaxing music. I talked about this in one of my other streams, like a month or two ago. I do this thing that I like to call heavy metal Tai Chi, which is when I'm doing a Tai Chi form, I will play hard, heavy music. And the reason for that is twofold. Number one, music can give you something to ground yourself to. I need to have that music. Anytime I'm training, anytime I'm cleaning, I need to have that music. But I specifically choose heavy music to force myself to move slowly. See, one of the issues I had filming that ad is I needed it to last as long as the music did. And I kept trying to rush through it. So I needed to have that, okay, stop, slow down. So in my head, while I was doing the form, I was humming the music to try and make sure that it lasted the correct length. Try to imagine fight scenes in movies and television series without music in them, without anything but, the clashing of swords and the slapping of skin. It's odd. It, like I said before, it feels unfinished, like there's a piece missing. When I was growing up, there was always noise. There was the sound of the shower running. There was the sound of televisions going. If I woke up and there was no sound in the house, every single time that happened, something bad had happened overnight or early in the morning. Every single time. And it's something that Foxy and I kind of argue over. I don't like that quiet. Because to me, in my mind, that equals bad. Something bad has happened every single time. So when I get up in the mornings and, I have basically 2 periods throughout the day when I am more or less alone with my thoughts. And that's first thing in the morning and right before bed. Now, lately, Foxy gets up with me, but I still have 10 or 15 minutes where I'm just sitting here. And I have to have some noise. Because if I don't, my brain kicks into overdrive and I start thinking about everything I did wrong during the week. Letting that evil voice in my head tell me all the ways that I fucked up. over the last day, week, month, whatever. And then she usually goes to bed like 2 or 3 hours before I do. So again, I have all that time with just myself. And sometimes I will get, philosophical with that time, but for the most part, I have to have some kind of sound, whether it's music or a YouTube video or, some kind of noise to calm the static in my head that's constantly there. Couple reasons why I listen to music while doing my streams. One, so you don't just have dead air in my heavy breathing. Two, it gives me something to ground while working. Yeah, exactly. And Foxy often listens to music when making jewelry. And last week, well, the Friday, a week ago yesterday, I made my journal to send to the convention in Indiana. And while I was making the journal itself, I had, I think it was a random YouTube video playing in the background. But while I was actually doing the binding of it was during last Friday's green room. So I had people talking as noise. And I still screwed up the binding the first time. I had to go back and redo it. And then earlier this week, I made another journal for someone. Not going to mention who, but it is in the mail. And it's supposed to get there sometime early next week. So possibly I can talk about it on the next stream in February. Yeah. Weird, apparently, because there are times when I relish the silence. I can't do completely quiet. Even just the heater that just kicked off is my own kind of version of white noise sometimes. You need to have that sound, because without the sound, it just doesn't feel right. I was trying to think in the lead up to this stream, because I watch a lot of, wuxia and a lot of action movies and martial arts movies and TV shows and things like that. And I tried to think of a time when there was a fight scene or an action scene without music in it. And I can't think of one. I'm sure there's one out there. One that I haven't, run across, or one that didn't stick in my brain for some reason. And that's probably the reason. If there's one out there that I had seen that I can't remember, I probably can't remember it because there was no music. There was nothing to connect it in my brain. Even sparring with friends, which doesn't happen terribly often, if there's no music playing at the time, which when we were doing Boffer, there was very rarely anything other than, the sounds of combat, I'd be playing music in the back of my head because I needed that sound there. Otherwise, my brain was just going to short circuit or something. I know several people that they want complete and total silence. And to me, that just, like with the cold tea, it doesn't work in my brain. I have a bit of a rat brain. I'm fully aware of this fact. And if I'm not playing music, then that little fucker has free reign to just constantly run all the time. I have something that I call my mental jukebox. And that thing is a little bit bipolar sometimes. It can go from, hard, heavy, fast metal to a waltz if it so chooses. I have no control over the mental jukebox, but it's almost always there. It's almost always on. When it's not, you know that I am stressed or upset about something. Usually like silence when I'm overstimulated, and that's fine. My brain is constantly playing music. The biggest issue I have with my mental jukebox is the things that often get stuck in my head the longest is music that I hate. It's things that I wouldn't want to listen to in the first place, and then they're playing over and over again in my head. If he were here, I know that friend of the channel, Nick Talkert from Nevermind the Furthermore and the Historical Fencing Guild, has a story about a time that he was sparring with someone and music was playing and things got a little out of hand due to, the combination of the music and things like that. I wish my brain was just playing music. Yeah, there are other things that go on in there, but the music is almost constant. Does a highlight roll of all the mistakes I made? Yeah, that's in there too. Because it's a jerk like that, yeah. But if the music's loud enough, the mistakes don't really hold as much weight, I guess. But people need that connection between sound and movement. It's the same thing that if you take, and this is something that a person close to me, she says I'm allowed to talk about her, but I'm still hesitant just because. But she is a dancer. She teaches dance. And I have asked her on multiple occasions, what would her class be like without music? When it's just her and a bunch of students dancing with no music. And her response was hilarious to me because she just looked at me like I grew a second head and the second head was a potato. And she says, that would be fucking weird. White reflection from Gundam Wing. I ended up with a black eye. Yeah, I thought it was you and Nick, but I didn't want to throw that out there and be wrong. But we were able to go back and recreate the entire match and figure out what I did. Good. Good that you figured it out. Yeah. Also found out that color of maroon makes an excellent color. Sometimes, sometimes our bruises become decoration. Hopefully not do a second black eye. Yeah. I actually have, you can't really see it very well, but right there is my curved weapon rack. And once upon a time, it was my only weapon rack. So I had all of my swords on it. This was when I still had very few swords. I'm up to 17 now. I have a black spiral rapier. And I was taking weapons off there to clean them and make sure they don't rust and stuff. And that rack, unlike the one in that bedroom, I have a meteor hammer. The rope is coiled around several screws to keep all the weapons in place. And I had taken the whole rope off and was going down the line and taking all the swords off instead of doing them one at a time like a smart person. And for some reason, that rapier decided to dive out and hit me in the face. It was like this close to having a quillion go in my eye. I had a bruise right there for like a week. Thankfully, he didn't have any doctor's appointments at the time because that would have been fun to explain to people. Foxy bruise is a lovely shade of purple. Yeah. Been tempted to whack myself with something, go into Lowe's and be like color match. Yeah, let's not do that. I don't want to have another, doctor's office situation where they tell me, can you step out of the room for a minute, please? We need to discuss things without you because they're, thinking that I did something. But dance without music, martial arts without music, it doesn't mesh in your brain. The reason that Confucius had music as one of the 6 arts is because music has that visceral connection. There was a video that I watched last week that had some figure skaters and some men with drums. And that video was absolutely amazing. The drumming was incredible. The figure skaters were, I think I read in the description that it was like a welcome video to the Beijing Winter Olympics, I think. But it, caused a reaction that just made me want to punch something. That's probably not the, most PC thing to say, but it's the truth. Drums, guitar, flutes, the Peking opera, even though it is, highly stylized, needs that music for the plays. If it was just people talking and fighting, no. when you watch the Olympics or you watch, gymnastics competitions, go, after the stream is over, obviously, go find a video of a gymnast or a dancer and play the video, but mute the sound. It's going to mess with your head because there's a piece missing. And that's how it is with music and martial arts. Without the music, a piece is missing. You need to have sound to go with the movement. One thing that I have heard on multiple occasions since I have been doing martial arts for 26, 27 years is that if you are a good martial artist, you will also be a good dancer, and vice versa. If you were a dancer first, like the person I was talking about earlier, she had no prior experience with martial arts, but she was a dancer. So when we started training, I knew that there was already that basis of movement. There was already something there to build on. Martial arts needs music just as much as music needs martial arts. Now, obviously, you can listen to a piece of music and have it just be a piece of music. That's a given. But when you have something going on in the background of the music, this is the reason why music videos work. Because you're going to have movement to associate with the music. I had a black eye from sneezing. Yeah. Sneezed and kneed myself. Yeah. Oh boy. Johnny's here. Can swing a katana around to the beat of I'm Too Sexy. If you want to. Just make sure that there's not anything in the immediate area because, as we all know, katanas are, the strongest, most powerful weapon in existence and could cut the universe if it so choose. So, yeah. Please film it if you do. Yeah. Speaking of which, watching last time's stream, I remembered that I told everyone that I named this monument to edgelordery. Yes, edgelordery. That's a word. Look it up. I named that thing Moru no Shinobi. But I didn't actually tell anyone what it meant. I just said I was going to leave it up to people. Well, it means mall ninja. I named that sword Mall Ninja. Yeah. I was torn between Mall Ninja and actually naming it Edgelord. But I don't know. Mall Ninja just seemed to fit better. So yeah, this is Mall Ninja. Yes. Edgelordery. Yes. All right. So, I figured the people here would like that. Greatest name ever. Yeah. Can hear you cat. See? I told you. Women cackle. I tell Foxy that all the time. When her and my mother are in the kitchen plotting, I always ask, what are you cackling about? And they always say, we don't cackle. You cackle. Just deal with it. Women cackle. Go out and find a gymnast routine. Go out and find a, movie sword fight. And mute the sound and watch. It's going to be odd. It's going to feel incomplete. Even these form DVDs I have in my desk here, even those, when they're showing you the forms, when they're teaching you, there's music. There is a undeniable connection between music and martial arts. Pulled an arm out from under the cat on that one. Well, I'm glad I entertain people. Yes, small ninja will live in infamy. See, I think I mentioned it in that stream when I introduced this lovely thing. When you name things in different languages, it sounds a lot cooler than the translation did or does. And Trelane 100% cackles. My final form would be, hey, that could be fun. Just have a house on chicken legs. That could be entertaining. Live in a swamp. I knew a girl that had a sword. God, I wish I could remember because it sounded really cool. It was a falchion, a European falchion. And the name was in Italian. And it sounded really, really cool. And one day we were talking and I just, out of curiosity, what does that mean? And she looked at me and she kind of smirked and she went, it means can opener. She had a sword named Can Opener. Hey, a lot of us have not even come close to reaching our final form yet. Like I said, I've been doing martial arts for almost 27 years now, and I'm nowhere close to final form. Of course, having an artificial hip and basically having to start back over at square one, that may have affected progress a little bit. So, anytime you see, a fight scene, an action scene in a movie, pay attention to the music. Because that music is almost always going to inform you of what's going to happen next. If you're, watching something and up until this point, the music has been fairly upbeat and it really suddenly changes to very somber music, something bad is going to happen. Maybe regressing from my final form. I grew up in a swamp, had a house that was originally on stilts, and the rowboat was like a more... All right. So you started off as a swamp witch. Hey, we all have to start somewhere. So yeah, music, especially to me, has a very special place. I'm almost always humming something, or when I was writing the guitar part for that ad, even when I was at work, I would randomly stop and go and grab a pen and a piece of lined paper and write things down. I had a whole lot more music than I actually ended up recording. Because, like I said, I think I said this on one of Nick's shows, I knew that if I kept working on it, if I kept messing with it, I was going to keep messing with it, because I really do have an issue with thinking things need to be perfect. And I just knew that if I kept playing, if I kept changing things around, I was never going to stop. I don't know. I showed this last time. I don't know how much people can read tab, but all these crossed off sections with stuff I didn't end up doing. This up here, starting from here and going over to here, this section, that is what's playing in that ad. Just that. I'll pick you up later. I found it easier to play that repeating than to try and add on to it and try and, I don't know, make it better. I don't know. But we're coming up on the hour, and I don't think, let me check really quickly. I don't think I missed any comments. Did just fine with music, so hush. Yeah, now it's your turn. Now it's your turn to script and record and write your own ad, because you need one too. And I will premiere it on here too if I have to. And that was the last comment. And we've gotten to the hour now. I think I've said pretty much everything I need to say on the subject. Hey. Watch that. Great show again. Thank you. And everyone, great stream. Wow, guys. One last thing, or should I say, one more thing. IndieCD.org. I am a member. Foxy is a member. Trelena is now a member. If you need art, if you want books to read, if you need photos taken, if you want a stream to watch, besides this one, obviously, go there, check out the artists, show them some love. And I will see everyone again in 2 weeks. I think that'll be February 3rd. Well, imagine that. You're even a member. You started the whole thing, but, Next stream will be about Lunar New Year, because that will be on the 10th of February. So look forward to that. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for commenting. Thank you so much for all of the kind words about my ad. You'll see it again on other shows, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. 再见。